Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, that is your Codex Mitra. And today we start our video with the CSS Grid, the easiest way to build a smart and responsive layout. So we will starting up with the introduction to a CSS Grid, and let's break down each part step by step. So let's get started. So here you can see the what is CSS Grid. So CSS Grid is a layout, is a two-dimensional layout system, allows the creation of complex web layouts easily, works with rows and columns. So in simple words, the CSS Grid is a powerful layout system in CSS that allows you to design a web page using the two-dimensional grid, and both applied for rows and columns. So CSS Grid lets you place elements exactly where you want them on your web page, and makes building responsive layouts and a much easier way. So the key features can be that is it's 2D layout, two-dimensional layout, and controls both the rows and columns, unlike a flex box with 1D, and it is responsive, easily adapt to a different screen sizes. And next, the feature can be a clean code, it is less messy. And first we will see one example so that it can be easy to understand what is CSS Grid. So I will go to the browser, and so grid in CSS. So here you can see this is the example of CSS grid that contains rows and columns, and we can place the elements using grid where you want to place that element. So now let's move to the use of our CSS grids. So here you can see why we use the CSS grid, because it simplifies the responsive design. Responsive design in the sense it can be adapted to any screen sizes, and more control over the layout than Flexbox for 2D structures. Using CSS grid we can create a 2D structures. And next is a cleaner and more maintainable code. So now we will move to the basic terminologies in CSS. Here you can see in grid we have the basic terminologies like a grid container, the element with the display grid. The grid container, it act like a parent for the grid items. Here you can see the grid item, it act like a children of the grid container. So the parent grid container, it's act like a parent container, and grid item, it act like a children. So here you can see the grid line, track, cell, area, these all other properties that we can apply to our grid in grid layout. So next, here you can see creating a grid container. We can declare in HTML file, we can declare a div with the class name as container, and in CSS we can give the properties using the class selector as container, and we give the display grid property to this container class. Turns an element into the grid container. So let's move to our code and VS Code. Here you can see I have already created a HTML index.html file, and the basic structure of HTML I have already created. And here you can see the style.css file. This CSS file is linked with our HTML file. Here you can see using the link tag I have given the relation as style.css, and h reference means that the file path I have given, the file name is given inside the h reference style.css. Inside body section I have created one paragraph as welcome to your Codex Mitra. Now after that I will create one div as and give the class as container. So in that I will create a div. So here we can see this is our example. We are creating this structure using the CSS grid. So let's move to our code. Before that, you count the boxes are present, how many boxes are present in this. Here you can see the total 8 boxes are there. So inside the container we will giving the 8 classes, and here we using the using the div that have class of box. So now inside the div container, let's create the 8 boxes, 8 divs of class box. So here you can see this is the trick that we use in a VS Code, and hit enter. Here you can see now we have the 8 boxes, and inside that I have a column names, means that box name as well. So as you can see, this is how we an element can turns into the grid container. So let's go to the style.css file and give the properties to a container, and the display is equal colon the grid. Save both the files. Now let's refresh. So as you can see, I have already created a folder for Codex Mitra, and inside that I have my index.html file. I open it with the Chrome. Here you can see this is our divs, 8 divs, but this is not looking, means it is looking like an invisible grid because we not seen any structure. So let's add some properties like background color. So I will select the box and give the background color. Here I will give as green. Now save it. Or one more property I will add as border as 2 pixel solid, and a color I will give dark blue. So now I'll refresh. Now here you can see we have the grid layout of 8 divs. So our grid is following the top down approach. Here you can see first to 8, then or a general coding concept it is, means starting with the overall layout structure first, then working with your down to small components. So next give the properties to, so next create here you can see in our whatever is the picture is there, in that it have the, here you can see 1 2 3 4 columns. When we see at the top it is looking like it's 3 column, but now let's give the create 4 columns. So for that I'm using the property as grid template columns. In that I will use the function called repeat, and how many columns I have to create, that is 4, and a fraction I will give as 1 fraction. Now let's save it and refresh the browser. So now here you can see now we have the 4 columns, and that is divided of full of 1 fraction. To give more property to these classes, I will define more class name here as box1, box2, box3, box4, and box5, box6. Okay, next box 7, and last one is box 8. Now save this, go to the style.css, and let's apply the properties to each of them. So first I will select the box 1, and here you can see the whatever I explained there, that we can create we can give the fraction to create a columns. We can give the fraction, and how many, using a repeat we can give how many columns we want, or else we can directly give the pixels to to your CSS properties. That means if here you can see, if I give the properties here, that 100 pixel, 100 pixel, whatever, so it will create a 100 pixel columns. Here you can see in our browser, each part it contains the space. For example, here I have given the 100 pixel, so each part acquiring the 100 pixel space. Now let's give another. First here I will give the 200, 300 and 100. So now save and refresh. So now here you can see this is a 100, 200, 300 and again 100. This acquiring whatever we give the in properties or values to these columns, that can be acquired by that divs. So let's go to our previous one only. So how will we apply the properties to the column? Same that way we can apply the properties for rows as well. Here you can see specifies the size and number of rows or columns. Next here you can see that I have given as a 1 fractional, 2 fractional. Fractional represent FR represent the fraction of a available space. Here you can see this is way I have given, but if I have removed the repeat function, then here you can see 1 FR. I can give this for 4 times. Now save this and refresh. Now here you can see the same structure whatever is given, but without the repeat function. Or else we can give the properties like 1 fractional, 2 fractional and 3 fractional. Now save this and refresh the browser. Here you can see this is the same working like whatever I have given in pixels, 100 pixel, 200 pixel, 300 pixel. So in fraction only works like it acquiring whatever is the available space is there, that can be divided into fractions. Is the grid gap, adds a spacing between the rows and columns. So it is a grid gap is commonly written as the only gap. In CSS, it is a property used to set a spacing between the grid columns or rows. Now let's give the gap to our divs. Now here I will give the gap as 10 pixel each. So now save this and go to our browser and refresh. Now here you can see now our each div is or each grid item is separated by 10 pixel gap. So if you want to give the gap in column more and in rows less, then another property we can use. So grid here I will give the column gap as 10 pixel and row gap as 20 pixel. Now let's save this. Now here you can see each our column is separated by 10 pixel gap and each row is separated by 20 pixel gap. Now here I will give the common gap to each column and rows of 10 pixel each. So now let's give the property to this box 1. Here you can see the box 1 class. Now let's here I will give the property as grid row start and another that is grid row end. So first I will tell you what is that. In our example here you can see that first column or box 1 is our first column. So first column is starts by first row till the fourth row, means this can be calculated as first, second, third and this is a fourth. So now let's give the start as 1 and end as 4. Now let's see the column as well. We can specify the column as well. So grid column start and grid column end. Let's now let's see in our example. This is our columns. So each first column is started by 1 and end at 0. Sorry, end at second. So let's give started at 1 and ended at 2. So now let's save it. Now here you can see it is started at 0 and 0th row, sorry, first row, and ended at the beginning of 4th row. And the column started at 1 and ended at second. Here you can see the at the starting of second column it has ended. So let's give the properties for box 2. Here you can see the box 2. So box 2 is started by column, second column, and ended at fourth column. This is first, second, third, and fourth. And here you can see the grid row. The row is started at the first and ended at second. So let's give the properties for box 2. Box 2, and inside that the grid, or else I will copy this first. So now here you can see our row, grid row is started at first, the second item, grid item, and ended row is 2. So here I will give the 2, and next is the column. So column, it is started at second column and ended at fourth column. So now save this and refresh our browser. Let's see output. So now here you can see our second grid item is there, that is started at the second column till the fourth column, and the row is from first to second. Now let's give the properties to box 3. So here you can see the box 3 is started at 0 first row and ended at second row. And now I will define one more property, that how we can give the same properties but with different you can say trick or rules. So here you can see the grid column, means the grid column started at first and ended at 3. The grid row is started at second and ended at 3. This is how we can shortly give the same properties in CSS, specifies where the item should be placed. So in third column, here I will give as grid, and row started at first and ended at second. So here you can see nothing is changed. So this is as it is. So it is not compulsory that we have to give a column for that as well. So let's give the properties for, let's see whichever is at correct position. So here you can see, so now here you can see the difference. The first row whatever is there, that is placed at the correct position. Second is also placed at correct position. Third, fourth, 5, 6 is not at correct place, means it is at correct place, but the display is not the same like this image. So 4, 5, 7, 8 is at the correct place. So now we have to give the property to box 6. Here you can see our box 6. this is our box 6. So now let's give the properties for that. Let's select the box 6, and inside that I will give the grid row, and here I will use the another property, and that is grid row span to. So first I will explain you what is this property means. So the CSS property grid row span to means it tells a grid item to stretch vertically across two columns, two rows in a grid layout. So here you can see we want to vertically stretch the row, sorry, we want to vertically stretch the column in two rows. So that for that we have the property called grid row span to. If we want that column or row stretch horizontally, then we have to property as a grid column span to. So let's save this and let's see. So here you can see the sixth box is there, that is vertically stretched using the grid row span to property. So instead of sitting in just one row, the item will take up the space of two rows track. Here you can see. Let's create another example. First I will display that. Now this is the homework for you guys. Now you pause the video and let's try to code for this grid layout. First I will remove this. Here you can see in this we have a column like 4 columns. So now here you can see in our HTML file I have already created one paragraph as welcome to your Codex Mitra, and after that I have created one parent container, and in that I have created 4 divs as grid items, and the style.css is empty. So now here you can see our output as one paragraph and the 4 divs. So we are creating this structure. So first whatever is the column is or a row is there, that is starting from 0th row to starting from first row ended at second row. And here you can see the column, according to the column it is starting at first and ended at 5. Here you can see first, second, third, fourth and 5. At the starting of 5 our this row is ended. So let's give first a property to our container. So here I will select the container and give the properties. First I will give the display property grid, and after that the grid template columns, and here I will use the repeat function. In that I will give the values like 4, and that each part is divided into one fraction. So now let's save this. So here you can see even if I execute, the nothing is looking because we have not given the background color. So let's first give the background color to each box. I will select the box class, and here I will use the background color. Here I will give the background color as aqua. Let's give the border as well. So border I will give as 2 pixel solid gray or black. So now save this, and here you can see now we have 4 columns in one row. Now let's give the properties to dot box 1. So I will use the grid row, and our grid first row is here you can see in the picture, it is starting at first row and ended at second row. So here I will get first and end at second. And for grid column, it is started at first and ended at fifth. So here I will give the fifth. Now save this. So here you can see our output. The first row or column, whatever is there, that is acquiring full width. As you seen in this picture, the full width is acquired by that first box. So here I will remove the text and give the text as header. Okay, after that else we give letter. So let's give some gap. So small gap I will give as 5 pixel. Now let's move to the another div class, that is box 2. Here you can see our box 2 is started at 0th row. Started at the second row and ended at third row. So here I will give the grid row property. Started at second and ended at 3. And the grid column. So grid column, here you can see that is started at 1 and ended at 3. First, second and third. Started at 1, ended at 3. Now let's save this. Now here you can see this is our second main portion that started at the second row and ended at the third row, and the column, the first starting at first to ended at third. So now let's change the text of that box. Here I will give the main. Now let's give the style to third class. So I will select that box 3, and after that, so see in the picture that started at row means started at second row and third row ended. So let's copy this and paste it here. And now you can see according to column, it is started at first, second, third and fourth. So here I will give the grid column as started at 4 and ended at 5. So here I will give the 5. Let's see. So now here you can see this is our header, main, and the third and fourth column or boxes are there, that is replaced with each other. So here first I will give the text as a sidebar. Let's save this, and after that here I will give as footer. So here you can see the footer and sidebar are interchanged. Here you can see that we want an empty space here, sidebar, and after that at the last row we want a footer, but here it is looking different. So this is because it is empty. The next whatever is the column or box or grid item element is there, that is acquiring the space whatever is present here, so that we can remove giving the property to that element. So I will select that as a box 4, and here I will give the grid row. So now in that picture you can see that started at first, second, third row and ended at fourth row. So now let's give another property, that is grid column, and here you can see it is started at 1 and ended at 5th. So first slash 5. So now let's save this and refresh the browser. Here you can see this is our correct and same like this picture here you can see. Okay. Now here you can see this is our code generated and this is our visual content that we replicate here. So header, first header in that acquiring whatever the space is present in our browser. Second main, in that row we have two columns. First is main and another one is a sidebar, and after that in between we have empty space. Here you can see the empty space, and at last row we have the footer. So here you can see the footer space as well. So this is how we can work with the grid layout in CSS. So now there is a one homework for you guys that you can practice at your home. So here you can see the first, second and third. This is the three CSS layouts you have to structured using the HTML and CSS. So let me know in the comment section if you that how many of you guys have completed this task, and if you have any doubt regarding this homework then I will definitely complete it in my upcoming videos. If you like this CSS grid video then please share this with your friends, family, and like, share and subscribe, and thank you for watching.